Would you join me in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nope, kind of hard to see that flag. Carl standing right there.
Good morning, everybody. We'll go ahead and start our study section with opening it up to public comment. Is there anybody with public comment this morning? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and with the opening of proposals for guaranteed energy savings contract, and I'll turn it over to Amber.
Okay. We have two representatives, one Ori Cummins, of course everybody's met with SmartWatt. I think you know all the board members. This is James Zellman, he's with Honeywell. And James, this is, y'all want to introduce yourself? Let him know who.
I'm Denver.
And Denver.
You won't remember it. John Chittick.
Carl Farnham.
Phil Luddington.
Derek Lorenzen.
And Jeff Boyd.
So these are our two people submitting proposals. We'll look over the proposals that are submitted to us and get back with them in a timely fashion after we inspect the proposals. So, have you given proposals to Augie?
Proposals are on the
Yeah,
desk over
there-
there.
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
two boxes of them.
Yeah, both have submitted their proposals in the required time frame.
Okay.
And so I'm hoping that these boxes contain enough for everybody, or if this is one great big proposal.
The RFP request asked for a total of 7
Thank you.
copies.
All right, so they are here and they are unopened.
Okay.
And Sheriff, you want to verify?
Just starting off for comparison's sake, who has the bigger box?
Yeah.
Size doesn't matter.
This one take the small box, I don't want the big box.
Would you like for me to open them up, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please.
Okay, in the order that I received them.
Very excited.
Thank you.
Where you cut yourself?
You guys are just as
There's
bad
some
as
scissors right next to there. if you need them.
No doubt.
There's a reason they sit us together and these things, and not at the table.
Okay.
You never thought about that.
Get it out of our system and separate.
You want a box opener, Augie?
Nah, thank
Holy
you.
cow, where's the sheriff? Is
He'd
that a
rather look at
weapon?
his
Is that
finger.
legal?
You want to shoot
I don't know which one.
Are you checking this guy? He's got 2 stilettos.
see who here may have medical training.
Always cut away from yourself.
We got a bleeder.
Oh, gosh.
Augie.
I'll open them up.
Oh boy, Ogie.
Amazing I had you in the class.
You did it.
Jim makes you feel pretty bad, doesn't it?
She didn't learn anything, did he?
All right. But it's all the same. Or-
Yeah, they're
I
all the
mean,
same.
okay.
It's tabs, you can just go to the ones you want to look at. Okay.
You were supposed to read all these in the next 5 minutes and then make your decision, right?
We'll pause it, open all yet.
Yeah, go ahead
There
and
you
open
go.
that one.
I think it makes sense to, obviously, did we put it on the agenda for passage?
We did.
But we really didn't figure we'd have time to review it in 2 days.
We'll just have
So the idea is to have a presentation by each company, a short presentation, and then the committee's gonna have to take a look at it and make a recommendation. Depending on the time, we may have to have a special meeting if it's time sensitive to go ahead and approve it, but it's, I think it's gonna be pretty much.
I'll vote for this one here. I like Cobra.
Yeah, sorry, Ori, but we get a free binder out of this.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote for this one.
The binders are recyclable.
Oh, okay. I can use one like this. Keep my notes up.
Keep our costs down.
Yeah.
This way we'll see where the roof needs to be repaired.
Yeah, fixes here, here, and here.
Yeah. What about the concrete steps?
Yeah. too.
You guys might want to get on that.
So,
Like actually a broken bottle just out of frame.
who turned in theirs first?
Or it did.
Or do you
Smart
wanna say anything to us at this point? Right?
Sure, yeah.
Laura? I'm sorry.
Or,
Yeah.
Ori.
or,
Well, again, appreciate the opportunity. It's been a pleasure working with each one of you guys over the last 4 or 5 months, and you know, we're really hoping for the opportunity to continue what we started with you. And really, the goal is we set out to help the county find as much savings as possible. And I think that we have a good plan together, and I think we have a good match with you guys. As a small to medium-sized company, I think we work really well with small and medium-sized counties. We specialize in county projects throughout the country. That's what we do. I'm working with more than a dozen in the state of Illinois alone right now, so I'm very familiar with county facilities. And you know, I think at the end of the day, we're not a manufacturer. We're looking out for you guys' best interests, and we're going to try to get you the right solution for yourself. And as a smaller company, we have a lot less overhead than a lot of the bigger companies, so that overhead doesn't get passed on to you guys, and we're able to do these projects at a much lower cost, and that allows you to accomplish more with the project. So that's what we set out to do, and we look forward to potentially working with you guys moving forward. Thanks again for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Sir?
Gentlemen. Again, Jim Zellman with Honeywell. Honeywell's name obviously is no surprise as far as the name itself, but Honeywell's been around for over 100 years. As Ori had mentioned, Honeywell is a large company as opposed to SmartWatt. So obviously, you know, we do have overhead. We are a manufacturer. We manufacture controls. We manufacture turbine devices. We manufacture a lot of things. My group in the Building Solutions Department is agnostic to solution. So regardless of manufacturing capabilities, we can provide anything that the county needs. And as Ori had said, the purpose of these projects is to provide the county with a comprehensive solution to infrastructure renewal. Whether that be through energy savings, whether that be through operating savings, it's to come up with a long-term sustainable plan to infrastructure and the deferred maintenance that occurs in aging facilities. Honeywell's been doing these programs for almost 40 years now. We pioneered the concept of guaranteed energy savings with the Department of Energy in the early 80s. And our teams have been doing it all over the world. So the number of references, obviously, whether it be city, town, county, hospital, K through 12, school, university, we've got a ton of them out there. We've done a lot of work in the state of Illinois. I personally, based out of Indianapolis, cover all of Indiana and the eastern portion of Illinois. My last project in Illinois was the Marshall Schools project over in Marshall, so it's right down the road. The purpose of these projects is really basic, but the state of Illinois does have certain requirements when it comes to going through the proposal process. So you want to make sure, as you know, I've talked to Andy already, as you go through this process and you look at SmartWatt and Honeywell, that you also take into consideration the legislation for that. And I've given a copy of the legislation for Augie and both Andy and Augie. Make sure that upon review, regardless of who you go with, at some point you'll want to involve a third-party engineer. The third-party engineer's job is to review all proposals to make sure that the content makes sense and that it also appeals to the legislation and the guidelines in the legislation. Honeywell is definitely glad to be a part of this process. Obviously, we didn't start it. We hope to end it. But at the end of the day, it's up to the county to choose a long-term partner moving forward, somebody who can give them not only the infrastructure renewal, the best savings, but basically is trusted to carry them into the future from an infrastructure renewal standpoint. So, happy reading. I hope that things are fairly straightforward in there. There's a lot of content. If there's any questions, I'd definitely be more than happy to provide a presentation or what we call an oral interview, where we set a time for myself, potentially a Honeywell engineer, maybe even a project manager, to come through, give you a description of our qualifications, our team members. Ultimately, this does come down to people, not necessarily company reputation, but the people that are involved with the project. So that oral interview typically gives both companies the chance to describe not only our qualifications and background, but also this process and how we manage this process from start to finish. because the way that is handled sometimes can make or break a project as well. So, look forward to your review and a favorable response. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Jim. Andy, what, are we under, for competition of funds, what kind of time frame are we under to move on this and make decisions so that we're in the ballpark as far as competition for the funds?
Originally, we had set a short time frame, but I think given the volume of what we need to look at, did we state anything, Augie? I don't.
No, I think we were made aware that
It was gonna
we
take longer.
could slow down a little bit because some of the solar things weren't quite ready yet for us
Established
to act
yet.
on. And so,
And they're still not quite established yet.
It's gonna come quick, so it's gonna be this fall at some point.
Okay.
So we're okay, I mean, but do we need to move on this sometime before the next meeting?
I would like to move on before the next meeting.
Okay. Well,
That's
then
what, that's
we'll
what
leave
my
that.
suggestion is, to have a decision made by, hopefully by the next meeting.
By the next county.
By October, rather, you're talking October
Yeah,
meeting or
October.
the one, 2 days?
No. the-
Is there any reason that we,
Well, I got my schedule.
Yeah.
is there any reason that we might need a special meeting to do it beforehand?
No,
Is there any advantage, gentlemen, to us doing it faster than that? You know, I know the fund that the state, or that is available has only got a finite amount of money in it right now, right?
yeah.
It'll take a couple months to go through an investment grade audit process, and you'll need to be through that in order to submit application for the SREX.
Okay.
The SRX portion of it is only a small portion. There is new legislation this year that will go into effect next year, but the rates for the grants that will become available for municipalities, basically municipalities that don't pay taxes and can't take advantage of the federal tax credit, there'll be opportunity in 2019 to get additional monies for that. Really, the SREC credits is only one piece of a large pie of opportunity when you're talking about the different sites and how much solar you can put at the airport versus other locations. It's all of that will go into the investment grade audit by either SmartWatt or Honeywell, and we'll choose the best potential provider. Honeywell has consultants and providers throughout the state that currently have dozens of these installations going in. So as you move forward, the next step in this process is to really nail down the infrastructure, the cost, as well as any opportunity to save money on the installation using grants, solar renewable energy credits, and any tax, non-tax related credits that may come available in 2019.
Thank you.
The SRECs are gonna be reduced value next year, so the first come, first served is gonna get the highest value SRECs, and that's bottom line. And those are funding maybe 50% of the installation for the solar, so they are very significant, and you're gonna wanna grab those if you can. And I think the goal of our project is to do budget neutral, no out-of-pocket costs. We're not looking for you guys to spend all this extra money on things. We wanna be able to fund it with savings. So those SRECs are gonna be pivotal.
So the October meeting is soon enough to do what we need to do to make a selection, and then you move forward, is that correct? Is that what
An
you're
October
asking?
10th meeting, we're still doing okay on the
Yeah, we'll have to
timeline.
probably fast track the solar. November 1 is potentially the submission date right now for application.
See, that's why I was wondering whether.
Yeah, that's why,
If you
would we
could-
be better off
I'll
having a
leave
special
that
meeting?
date. Has been finalized
Why
yet,
don't we
but-
just set it as the next board meeting, and if we can make a decision before, then we'll do that. And
That's what I was
How about
gonna
if we
suggest.
schedule a properties committee meeting,
Buildings and grounds. I think.
building, yeah, that's, sorry, wrong terminology.
What different places did they all look at?
Basically looked at
everything,
Everything.
I mean, like the
Yeah.
health department,
All the facilities, yeah.
out the airport,
Yep.
courthouse,
The health
jail.
department has its own budget, so you could choose to do a project in the same contract, but you'd have to split out the different funding portions unless it was a budget enacted change to the health department's budget versus another budget.
Now, this put in the heating and cooling health department, so it should have a savings there anyway, a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So-
That's kind of my.
Go
So I
ahead, Bill.
guess in your proposals, I mean, I haven't looked at them, but is there addressing savings at all the different places?
We looked at an overall, and that assessment that we originally provided, and that's not included in the proposals. The proposals are qualification-based proposals. So I'm
Okay.
sure that Honeywell has some solutions in there, because they didn't do an assessment like we did, so I'm sure that they are gonna provide some.
We have an initial assessment in the proposal that talks about our walkthrough, the potential items that
Okay.
we looked at that were both critical and maybe something in the next 2 to 5 years that you'd want to consider. So that all will go into the basis for the beginning portion of the investment grade audit
Okay,
as a starting point.
This is basically an audition,
Right.
okay?
I see.
Yeah.
And then.
There's no
once-
specific proposals in these.
Once we choose one of these firms.
Then we'll go into, okay,
Right, then they
I'm
will.
with you. I understand.
No problem.
Yeah,
I just wanna make
Yeah.
sure everybody's on the same page. I like your idea. We'll plan on it at the next meeting. If you call and say, we're ready to go, then we can go. Okay?
Can I ask a quick question? We've heard from you before, what, just in a quick nutshell, what would be the big targets on your proposal?
Well, you have
Did you
to
have that off the top of your head, or?
basing it off of savings, I mean, you want to concentrate on those things that could bite you in the rear coming up in the near future, which is you've got the courthouse roof, you've got certain things, obviously the health department has its own
Right.
issues, but it's gonna come down to, the investment grade audit is gonna have like, 20 to 30 different items in the cloud, and then the purpose of the investment grade audit is to work through the Buildings and Grounds Committee to identify those things that are critical, that can fit in the budget, that may be budget neutral, that may work with the solar project. Looking at the solar project and making sure that the solar project can pay for not only itself in the amount of years, given the amount of SRECs and the credits, but also to help pay for other infrastructure. That will be a big part of that process. The thing you don't have a crystal ball. If you spend money in one direction and you've got another item that's left out, it may fail, tomorrow and you don't know it. So a big portion of this process is to try and prevent that from happening and prevent the board from needing to spend more money on a critical or emergency basis. But ultimately, the courthouse has some deficiencies that need to be looked at. I'm sure the judge would love to have those window units taken out and some sort of long-term sustainable HVAC solution, but then you gotta realize, once you start spending money in one portion of a courthouse on HVAC, how much more is it gonna cost to upgrade the rest of the facility? And at some point, you probably want to perform an upgrade of that entire facility with either most likely a 4-pipe system, boiler chiller, or a VRF system. We've provided kind of a little bit of background of both of those in the initial assessment as options. VRF systems in the beginning had some troubles. K through 12 schools did them quite a while, ran into some issues, but the technology has upgraded to a point where they're very viable now. And regardless of if you go with a VRF system or 4-pipe system, both systems need some sort of ventilation effort in the courthouse. So all of those decisions kind of go into impacting something like, well, do we want to provide HVAC for just the courtrooms? If you're going to start spending money in an area, you want to have a long-term plan to, capitalize on the fact that you're starting to spend money. And choosing one area like the courthouse over the health department, which has its own budget, which is, I believe Sycamore Engineers has provided them with a great amount of work. Sycamore did the HVAC at our last project in Marshall Schools. Great company, and I talked to those guys recently, and they've got a handle on needs. They've got a plan in place to upgrade the rest of that facility as they talk through it with the health department. So those are all things that can be looked at, but from a budget standpoint, I would say the courthouse at this point is a big hitter, only because we like to keep judges happy. I hope there's no judges in the room. Sometimes they get more vocal as far as their needs, and rightfully so. That they're trying to get a very much needed service done, and it's hard to do it when you have loud, noisy window units, sitting there. So between that and the roof, and you've got the elevator issues in the courthouse. The courthouse is a big ticket item. From an energy standpoint, Honeywell looked at solar. To be honest, between the SRECs, we've had a few people that said this may not be a good fit, only because the size of the system necessary that we have seen, typically you do these through a power purchase agreement. Power purchase agreements typically require a minimum of a 500 kW system. The most that we've seen between the airport and the courthouse is about 100 and, the airport's 90 kW, and I think the courthouse would be 180 kW system. So there's just a lot of complexities when you're talking about two different sites with the solar option. When you're talking about just a 90 kW system, I put one of those in at Monroe County, Indiana, a few years back for $230,000 or so. The cost and the SRECs, they may offset a little bit, but how much of that's going to help pay for new HVAC at the courthouse or a new roof at the courthouse? Those are all things that have to be determined during the investment grade audit. And as Ori had said, if there are credits that are on the table this year that are going away or being reduced, next year there's actually something that is coming into place potentially to help pick some of that up. And that's straight from not only our solar providers, but also from consultants out of Chicago that may be able to help us with that portion. So, when you talk about, where do you want to start? The current financial situation of the county is, it is what it is. You have to really come up with a long-term plan that says, here's the critical items. How do we not spend good money after bad? So if you just keep putting in new systems, hodgepodge systems in the larger facilities, the jail is a big, thing to look at. You've got different systems over there, and nothing talks to one another, so you have to maintain all these systems separately. When we go into facilities, we take into account the critical items that need to get done right away, but we try to blend that into a long-term sustainable, not only from an operating standpoint, but from a maintenance standpoint as well. So, not so in a nutshell, but
It was just a big net, that's all right.
there's a lot that goes into these efforts.
Okay.
I will say that we are an energy conservation company, so we're going to focus on items that save energy. There are obviously other things that the county needs to do, and those should be done by people that have expertise in those areas. Having a company like us mark up someone else's work is not going to be beneficial for you. So we don't have minimum project sizes at SmartWatt, so if this ends up being the best project for you, ends up being a $100,000 project, we're more than happy to do that, and that's one of the benefits we're going to bring to the county as a smaller company. We don't need to scope creep on you and make this big project just to make it worth our while, because every project's going to be helpful.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You guys have any other
I
questions?
just had one question, it's probably not a quick one, but you were talking about the power purchase agreement, 500 kilowatts, is that demand or production?
Production.
Production. And so when you looked at the airport, and that was the 180, I assume. So
90. Yeah.
the airport was only 90, that was based on?
That's based on how much the airport can consume from basically a producing system. From what I've been told and what I've learned, the ability to put in a solar system larger than that to encompass the courthouse facilities and such, the net metering effect of these projects can only be location to location, from what I've been told. Correct?
No, that's not correct.
Really?
Community solar is available for Amarin. And
Okay. Yes, community solar. I've also been told that there's such a long backlog of people. It's on a it's on a lottery system right now. So you have to actually put your name in a hat for a lottery to be picked for the community solar program right now, because there's so many people that are willing to do that.
virtual net metering is separate. There's a community solar program, and there's virtual net metering. Amarin has its own separate community solar that's different than the community solar that's part of the Future Energy Jobs Act. So that's something we actually, we're looking at 250 kW at the airport, and we are not going to use a power purchase agreement, so you don't have to meet those requirements. It's going to be your system, you're going to own it, it's going to have a 25-year warranty, it's something that you guys are gonna get as part of this energy conservation project. And that's,
Those are things that your committee's gonna have to nail down.
Right.
And we're gonna have to verify
Right.
and make sure that we're headed in the right
I've been
direction.
aware of this, yeah.
Typically, to just be honest, typically you don't have this back and forth banter between competitors in a meeting.
Yeah, well, I know. That's okay.
No.
You guys are being polite,
No,
professional.
I'm trying, yeah, I think it's helpful for everybody at the table to
Yeah.
see that.
Yes.
And that's why also I had suggested an oral interview process. Cause then, that way Ori and his team can kind of go through this stuff, and then we can go through, and then, you know, you make an educated decision based on a presentation of that, where you actually have a set amount of, you know, time set aside for that process. And I mean, if it's available, I mean, my background in renewable energy, I'd love to see the county be able to take advantage of it. Everything that I've been told up front is saying it's gonna be very difficult to move forward. If it's possible, then that's great. Honeywell takes into account not only the renewable energy, but the facility infrastructure. So yes, we look at the energy savings opportunities, and we try to make the best decision with the county and with everything that we have at our disposal to work on infrastructure as a whole. When you're talking about energy savings, yes, energy savings is important. Doing energy conservation measures just for the sake of doing energy conservation measures and saying it'll pay for itself, I've seen places that do it, and I've seen places that don't want to spend the little funds they have available to just do energy conservation measures at this time, because it's just energy conservation. I'm for energy conservation, but only when it makes sense financially for the entity.
Got a lot of work, huh? All right, well, thank you guys
Yep,
again.
appreciate it.
It was our pleasure. We appreciated the information. I think you both have contributed and make us feel comfortable in the direction we're headed, so. Okay, thank you.
Now we have our bedtime reading for the next week.
yeah, exactly.
Good question, by the way. Well, that's important. Okay.
Yep, that's it for
Do
me.
you have a report other than this?
No,
Okay.
I got nothing.
We might talk about, Jeff and Augie have worked on an issue with, having to do with the courthouse and the maintenance.
You know, you really haven't got to work on it yet, because all you've been gone, but.
Well, I understand, but I mean,
It's just keep on coming. It just keeps coming back, yeah.
The whole week.
well, did you wanna talk about it a little, Jeff?
Yeah, I
So-
can. I've got some copies here if everybody wants to see the contract. Of course, everybody knows Bob has been out with heart surgery. They had bypass and a valve replaced.
Really?
Well, then once he heals up from this, he's gonna have to go back and have a kidney removed. So we're looking at probably, first of the year, probably, I'm guessing, before he's fully recovered. But anyhow, over the issue we've had over the courthouse and jail cleaning and stuff. HRC got a hold of me this week. They offer a cleaning service, where they come in with a crew. I mean, it's set up to however we want it done. They bring in a crew of 3 to 4 people plus a supervisor and do all the cleaning. They gave us a bid. It's $325 a week for their cleaning, which what, 16.9,
Yes.
something like that.
For those two buildings?
Yeah. A lot of the stuff they provide, so we save a little bit there, but it's basically a guaranteed service. So like, if we hired somebody, sorry.
Sorry, you don't give
No,
me.
I thought
You asked a question.
I thought you'd read my mind. So basically where we hire somebody, and if they're sick today or sick tomorrow, you know, they don't show up and some stuff don't get done. This way, you know, if somebody's sick, they just fill that position, whether it be a leader or a worker. So about on any given day, they'll only be there 2 or 3 hours a day, but it will be, you know, a crew of 3 to 4 people all the time. So, but they've got, I mean, they're dusting, mopping, vacuum, buffing windows, and plus they provide a lot of their material that they eat, cleaning material, so we don't have to provide that either. You kinda gotta weigh it out. I mean, it's probably a little higher than if we just hire somebody. But we will save, you know, we don't have to pay any insurance, we don't have to pay any,
It's a contractual labor.
Yeah.
benefits.
It's also doing a valuable service for another agency
They're helping
in the
us, we're helping
community that
them.
does a lot of good work, yeah.
And like I
Who's
say,
doing the
it's,
outside?
huh,
Who's doing the outside mowing and stuff?
that was right now me.
We have to pay you?
Oh, yeah, I gotta turn that in too.
Okay.
So you're thanking us for the new lawn.
Oh, thank you for the new lawnmower, yeah.
Well,
Can I turn in the bill
But
for
Bob-
Wood Street?
Bob talked to me and said, hey, I'm gonna have my son do it, if it's all right with you in my absence, and I said, yeah, that's great, I'm glad you said that. Well, I didn't realize, then Jeff called me in the car and said, hey, I got this, and I said, what's happened to Bob's son? Well, I guess he
moved to Minnesota.
He told me he's gonna do it, but he didn't tell me he wasn't gonna do it, so I just assumed that was the plan, but anyway, so it kinda got thrown quick at us.
Mowing's about over with.
Yeah, should be, another month.
Yeah.
But the snowplow's ready to go.
Well, that's the next thing.
The four-wheeler?
Leaves.
Questions, gentlemen?
So this is just for the courthouse?
Yeah,
And
and,
the jail.
And the jail.
well, I'm wanting, see that she just come to the courthouse, but we're,
Doesn't say that.
I'm needing to figure in,
The 325 apparently is just for the courthouse.
well, I just have the jail come in every now and then because I don't think I wanna bring a whole crew into the jail.
No.
I mean, just the dynamics of the jail and everything
This
is,
too, and I read it, so I just wanted to.
You know, my thinking with the jail is we definitely need some cleaning done in there, but, that would be a whole lot of back and forth and talking with Ken Polkey on how to manage that, because that's a pretty bad mix,
Potential
possible
loss.
combination
Well,
of,
that's-
Yeah, agreed.
exactly.
of
the-
clientele on both sides, I guess, would be a nice way to put it.
And I know how my people can, or not my people,
Yeah,
our people can behave.
yeah.
Is that a Freudian?
Okay, they're my people.
Is that, I think, you get that on tape?
Your clientele.
So, what's this take from us? What do we need to do?
Just comment.
Just give us a thumbs up?
Well, I mean, for I say, you know what, we'll give you a month, couple months, if it works good, fine. If it's not,
How long is Bob gonna be out?
it'd be,
Oh, we don't know.
sounds like first of the year.
If he's gotta repair more organs, it might
Of
be a
course,
while.
and he thinks he's gonna be back in 4 weeks. I don't think that's gonna happen.
That's what I thought too.
And after mowing the other day, there's no way you can ride that mower.
I'm not real good after 8 weeks, so.
I was gonna say, Carl, how long does it take you to come back from that?
I'm back in
It'll be a while.
I thought I'd be back in a week or two.
Back in a month. Not so much.
No.
But you just had a stent, he had open heart surgery and valve replaced.
Valve replacement.
And you're tough, Dan.
I'm tougher than most of them. Also, a lot older than most of them.
That's also true. I wasn't.
Sheriff, I think in general, the board is willing to support you on
Like I
this.
said, I've got a couple of questions I wanna ask him about before we do anything definite.
Please keep us notified.
Yeah, and they have in here modification of cleaning days and times or termination of agreement requires 7 days written notice, which, I mean, that's more than reasonable, but it also means we're not signing a
But it's-
5-year
yeah, exactly.
contract or
Right, so it's
anything.
not like a lot of people, they want 6 months notice or 60 days and,
Yeah,
And you're gonna minimize the use in the jail at all.
yeah, I mean, I'd like to, maybe like on a Wednesday, maybe once a week have them, or at least, and that's what I wanna see, whether they can split up and say they got somebody that can operate the buffer, you know, come in and buff our floors and,
Come in the morning or something?
yeah.
Yeah, before.
And then, so this agreement would be modified slightly.
Just slightly, yeah.
yeah, well, we can try them out on the courthouse and see if it works and move over.
Okay. You have anything to add, Augie?
Well, I talked to one of the gals up in probation who is aware of, made us aware of these services. And she said that they're cleaning, I don't know what they call their little business there at HRC, the cleaning crew. They do a lot of businesses around town. I think they, I mean, it's not just, hey, we're sitting around looking for work. I think they're
Yeah,
out
they
there.
got quite a few, several crews out
Yeah,
and going.
they're getting after it
Good.
with a lot of, we could ask for references. That's my point is, there are references we can ask for.
I wouldn't think the new references.
Well, I'm just, so you know.
Thanks.
Yeah,
And I can't, she told me that the day I talked to her, you know, who all had done business with. I mean, they got some pretty good clients.
Well, we can try them and see how it
Yeah,
works,
I
and
think that'd be
if it
great.
doesn't work out,
Yeah.
then we'll do something
They
different.
look for something
at least
else.
be more dependable this way, I think.
Well, that's kind of the thing I'm looking at, that they'll be there.
Right.
They say they'll be there 3 days a week.
Right.
We know they'll be there 3 days a week.
Yes, Lucky.
And the other thing, aside from this, just FYI, in Bob's absence and the sheriff's approval, I'm basically opening up and locking at night the courthouse. Open up in the morning, locking it down. And so whether I do it or it's my office is responsible for that. So if there's any questions or issues, please let me know. And it seems to be working out fine. I mean, I'm there early and usually,
You're walking through the door anyway, you can turn the key.
absolutely. About 4 o'clock, I lock it, and about 10 to 8, 5 to 8, I unlock it.
When did Bob have the surgery?
We could go Thursday.
It was just a week ago.
Well, I drove by and saw you mowing, you were
I saw him
kicking up
mowing.
so much grass, I just figured as Bob's sitting on it.
It doesn't look quite as big.
Well, there was enough grass flying around, I couldn't see anything, I just saw the mower running.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks.
Dan, do you have anything?
Not on the animal shelter, that's some other things, but at the end of this meeting, when it comes for a comment or something, like, or want me to do it now?
Just go ahead and hit her now, Dan.
Shiloh Security,
We're gonna
that's still
get
in the
to that.
works.
We met with them Thursday morning.
Okay, Aaron asked me about, works at the hospital. He's on the school board, Aaron Richardson.
Hmm.
He's not on your committee, I don't think, but he has.
Oh, the work's over in X-ray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something about compost business was on the internet, or on the email.
Oh, yeah, that,
On and off.
that's
has
been a few months ago that
Yeah.
came up, didn't
I
it?
just wondered about
You mean down at McNabb's?
McNair,
Yeah.
yeah.
But what about it?
it. I just wonder, anything decided on it, or?
We don't have much play in any decision making. The last thing I saw was something from, it was a standard form from EPA that they give
Any
out.
comments can be made to the
Right.
EPA, wasn't it EPA?
Yeah, I believe so. It was a federal
Yeah.
form.
I guess the only way we would have a play in it is that a county or a township road.
What about odor?
It's a township road.
Did
We'll
you
have an
watch,
odor?
did you watch the video on these things?
No,
We went all through all this. You were here, man.
No,
Yeah.
we didn't.
You must have fallen asleep in that meeting, Dan. I tell you
I
what.
fall asleep a lot of times.
Yeah, so I mean that could be potentially a concern if they're posted roads and they're bringing semis in, which a lot of that is coming from mills, elevators, and other places they're pulling off bean meal. But I don't think it's so bad. It's not like bean meal that we come across on a farm. It's just stuff they can't sell anymore. So, but yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. That's a lot to
Become
mitigate
about
on the road.
half mile off the highway
I
there.
assume they go down Lower T and then just,
Zip over on Hill Road.
They're on the Hill
I
Road.
would assume that's how I'd do
unless
it.
they come Route 1 and come that way, but
Our function though would be simply
I just wondered the odor
commenting.
on it. Compost when it's,
Should be very low.
They claim there is not.
okay, I just
Stuff they
wondered.
do.
That was my
There's
main
aeration.
concern.
It's for the
Procedure.
logistics branch of it as they're bringing stuff in.
Okay.
So that would be the only time you count it. Plus, it's right by the owner's house, so I'm sure his wife would not be very pleased
I
if
don't
they
think
fucked it
It
up.
has to be better than living next to the turkey farm.
For the pig farm.
Which is no longer. It's no
No.
longer.
And
So
solar
farm's
farm,
gone?
anything decide on it? And we have,
Everything's contracted.
Yeah.
We,
Gary could-
you wanna address that, Augie?
I'd be glad to. I've been in dialogue with the parties involved with this solar farm, and as I'm sure you know, it is 30, 40 acres just south of NAL. And while we don't, the county doesn't have any kind of zoning ordinances, or we don't issue building permits, they ask for us to sign what's called a letter of permission in lieu of building permit or ordinance. Well, we were skeptical about signing something like that. Mark looked at it and he said that there really isn't, legally, there really isn't an issue with it. He said that what you gotta be careful is how that gets interpreted, where if you give permission to this project and you don't to another project for whatever reason. And I explained that. That was kind of what we were thinking. And basically, what they did not tell me was the request, actually, that was just from the people that are going to do the project. But the request for this letter actually comes from Ameren. They have it's a pretty much a standard form letter, and our square doesn't fit in their round hole. And so, if we could maybe modify that letter, just, I mean, in the letter it says the county does not does not issue building permits or have any zoning ordinance. It specifically states that in the letter.
Well, that's where you and I left it, and you were going to get back to them and say, look, I think there was one statement at the very end
Yes,
that we just couldn't sign,
right,
and asked that if we could subtract that, then it was
Should be
really
an issue.
innocuous
Right.
statement,
Right.
which is what the attorneys were looking for.
right.
Is it within 2 miles of city property?
Word of the day.
No, I mean, yes, it is, because isn't any other city
Because-
property?
Yeah.
But if you're building within 2 miles of city property, you have to apply for a city building permit.
That's on them, not me.
Yeah,
but-
well, I understand that.
Now,
but
what'd you just say?
If you're within 2 miles of
Or a
city
mile and a half.
property,
Mile and a half, I was thinking, well, maybe 2 miles.
yeah,
But there-
Whatever it
whichever.
is.
There's a
Yeah,
radius.
there is a radius there, so.
But they may be looking at that too, and us additionally, but if we can come up with that letter that subtracts off those conditions that Mark really didn't want us to do, that's fine. And that's where I thought we'd left it. So
Yes, you're right, and being out of the office last week,
we-
And
yeah,
the week before that.
and the week before that, and, oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm leaving for a week right after this meeting.
Before that,
All right,
I'll-
does that
I'll-
answer your
I'll put it-
question? So we're still up in the air, we're trying to get them what will suffice without committing us to anything.
Right,
We don't wanna say, yeah, go ahead,
Yeah, that's what
and
I
then
was
something
thinking.
terrible happen, or 3 other people come in and one,
I know when Interstar put their solar thing in, they didn't contact us, did they?
Nope.
Of course, that, it's in the city limits, I think, Interstar is.
yeah, I think it's just
Anything
a
else, Dan?
checklist.
Mr. Dackman, his Second Amendment thing with the guns, anything to decide on that?
That resolution is already put into the October
Okay.
board file.
Okay.
So that should be ready to go. And that was where the state's attorney said, just take out the language that refers to anything in the legislation and just make it a straight up,
Support,
basically support what it says.
yeah, I
And-
agree.
And then that's pretty
One
much it.
paragraph, that
Yeah.
like Derek and I both.
I think it was a couple of sentences is all that
Yeah,
needs to be
right.
removed from there.
Right.
So,
Okay,
anything else?
no, that's,
John?
Have nothing.
Carl?
Nothing.
Nope.
Derek?
So I got some stuff.
Good.
Did Dave ever do that stuff at the courthouse? There's a couple things we talked about many minutes ago. State's attorney's office door and probation changes. Anything happen with that at all?
Not yet. Dave never got back with me, and he
Never
never
got
got
ahold of
I
me.
got to talk to Dave anyway, so I gotta have to do some stuff
Yeah.
that I needed to for a couple of weeks. But
Yeah, I just wanna I hadn't been in there and I wanted to know, because that was, those seemed like those were pretty easy fixes that we get knocked out quickly, and that was apparently a correct assumption on my part, so.
Okay.
The other thing I just wanted to bring up is, I feel like, it seems like it's a long way off, is when we have our negotiations or we look at the ambulance contract for the county, I just wanna make sure that we don't get put behind the 8 ball as far as what we want or what we prefer as far as what we're gonna ask of these companies that bid, as far as countywide. especially north, the northern part of the county and what they've got in place. So I don't know what the next steps are. I just wanted to make that something that everybody has visibility to because,
Okay, I was gonna ask you a question, but
yeah, so I just, we will be better served by having an idea as a county board of what we want from these bidding agencies, right? And so, as someone that lives in the north side of the county, I think that involves bringing in, the agencies that are involved up there. I don't think that they're probably long for this earth as far as that goes, so we need to figure out what that's gonna look like, what we wanna request, what's reasonable, and so start bringing people in, experts, on that subject matter, as it pertains, because I feel like that's a lot closer than we think it is.
Extremely.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things that I went to see the state's attorney on. And he was gonna get with Dick James to review all the work he had done for the Northern Edgar County Ambulance Service. But you were absolutely right, we need to hit the ground on that pretty
This is
quick.
gonna be fairly serious before it's over.
Right.
Yes.
We,
I've
too
been
bad.
doing all kinds of-
Well, and not even from any bidding agency, just from what we are gonna say,
From our standpoint.
these are our criteria.
Right.
And it's a pretty simple contract that we've got, and
Probably too simple.
it is too simple. I've been asked questions, and I'm like, well, I'm not sure. I said, well, how do you bid on that? So it is something we need to look at, and probably be a little more specific in our language.
Yeah,
We're
What
gonna
we,
have-
what we basically said is that what we want them to do.
right, that's my.
Then what will you need as far as tax money from us on an annual basis?
Are we gonna ask them to also put in their bid, Northern Edgar County? 'Cause
We don't know that yet. That's
That's
what,
up to them. We can't
Northern
tell them
County, if
what.
they want
That's
to
part
roll
of
in,
it,
they've got to get it
because
on the ballot for
we can't
November.
require,
no, it's not a valid issue.
no,
Oh, it isn't,
It is
whether
not a
Northern
valid
Edgar
issue.
County, Okay.
Have a municipal meeting and.
Right, they have
make their
a
decision based on
hearing, that's how it
Okay.
was created. At least at this point, what the state's attorney is looking at, because we've had Northern Edgar specifically say they might want to become part of that
Right.
special, is how do we expand the district?
Right.
That's the main issue, is can it be expanded and how do you do it? Okay, because they've already ruled out the option of them creating their own ambulance special district up to the north, or if Kansas wanted to do it, or wherever. It's based on population,
right.
and nobody,
They're not
The-
populous enough to have
right,
their own.
right.
At least that's my understanding.
That's what
So-
Dick James says.
So as I understand it, I mean, they want to roll in with us, which I think is the best solution. But they have to be the ones to initiate that process. We can't
We
reach
don't
out
know
and,
who initiates that yet. It may
Okay.
be the county board, it may be, I don't know the answer to that.
But you can't say like the 2 or 3 that put in the bid for the ambulance service also include Northern Edgar County in their bid?
No,
That's
Can't
what
do
he's
that?
asking.
Well, that's,
Not
That's
unless-
what I'm
there's
saying.
multiple
It should
layers
be
to this,
that way.
right? So,
Yeah.
agreed, and so what I feel is our role in this, where we can kind of use our levers is to require, once we have this suitcase, so let's say hypothetically, Northern Edgar County is able to basically fall into that envelope with a special ambulance service. Where we come into the picture is requiring in those contracts, you shall
Right.
have some sort of basing of an ambulance and crew somewhere north of Horace Brockton.
Right.
So those are all the things, I mean, there are
The
20
buil-
things we gotta figure out.
The
right
buildings
now.
up there, the equipment, I mean, there's all kinds of things to deal with, and Derek is absolutely right. Now, what I've heard unofficially though, is that there's less interest up there now to doing this, but I think we need to present everything to them so that they can make an intelligent
And that's probably
decision.
the stickiest wicket of the whole.
Right,
Well, if they do that, the bids are gonna have to be a lot higher than what they would be in the past.
Sure.
Because you're including that
Right.
area.
And
but you've got
Plus the
taxing
crew,
area
plus you got
larger.
the,
And to that end, we owe it
Also,
to
right.
all bidding agencies to have
Right.
that ahead of time and not say, oh, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
To this end, I got a call from Eric, he wants to come see the board. And he was supposed to get back to me on whether it was this meeting or the next study session. Specifically, he wanted to talk about this year's levy for next year. And then, I think, talk to us about this whole situation. Air Evac called me several days later, and they wanna come in and talk to us also. And there's no reason that they shouldn't. I mean, we'll listen.
They've actually are on ambulance service.
Right.
Also, yeah.
Yeah, and I had heard that they ought to,
They purchased some
Brazil,
ambulance services.
Maybe, mainly Brazil.
That's
yes, Brazil.
probably our third, okay.
Yeah, well, my understanding, they fully intend to.
I know of 3 people,
Two
or
and
3,
one,
I'm
three.
sorry, not 3 people.
Three
3
entities that want to bid on it.
They wanna bid on
Ambulance
the
service.
ambulance service.
Another one?
Yep. That's good.
And
Well, I mean,
Better enough for us.
Realistically, it's good, it's just.
That's good for us, I agree, but
Carl,
maybe not good for the,
I guess I wasn't,
troops.
don't understand about the northern Edgar County, they don't wanna,
they've entered into a new agreement with this, and this is all, I haven't been officially notified, but they have doubled the different entities, like the city of Chrisman, Hume, all the ones that are part of it that contribute and
Right.
money, have decided to double what they put in to the kitty every year, or every month, and on an annual basis. Therefore, they think maybe they can squeak by, but,
and run their own,
right, and I,
currently like they are now.
right, and I think that's putting a Band-Aid on a leaking artery, but that's,
So if that all works out, then they might not be interested.
but
in-
we need to be in a position to give them a full picture of what can be done,
Well,
and
and
then
that's
them make an informed decision.
right, and that's up to the state's attorneys and.
Right,
and,
That's up to that
attorney.
area.
Well, and
What
it's
do they
up,
want?
it's up
It's
to
a
the
level of
ambulance
service,
services
yeah.
that are bidding.
Mhm.
Because, you know, the northern counties can't make a decision until they know what it would cost to.
well, there has to be a special taxing district to even expand it. I mean,
So
there's a lot of things.
Exactly.
So the state,
It's
the
my
attorneys need to get up on the stick and get something decided so everybody knows where they're at.
The other
What
thing,
they
I
can do.
talked to the state's attorney and Dick, and I think
They
mentioned,
don't
I'm
do
sorry,
anything in a
did I
hurry.
cut you off?
No,
I'm
no.
sorry. The other thing we could do is if we're running into an issue and people can't decide and it's not straightened out, we could enter into an interim agreement for a set period of time, like a year, till it got squared away. Right
Okay.
now, we're operating, I'm just saying it's an
And
option.
there's something in the contract about, remember we got in trouble last time because
Right.
we
No,
didn't do
no,
something
we
within
need
a certain
to.
time frame.
No,
We're on it this time.
We're on it.
So, the normal contractual setup is a 2 or 3 year contract, right?
It was 5.
Five.
Five.
So you think that's gonna be feasible if you're gonna have, I mean, you're gonna open this up to a problem, right? Potentially, if you say, hey, on an interim basis for Northern Edgar County, then we go into a 5-year contract and then something falls apart, then we got problems.
Right.
I would be hesitant to entertain that. So just order of events here, we are waiting on Mark and Dick to get us some answers.
Right.
And from there, we need to start incorporating, again, I think pretty much Southern Edgar County, we're in pretty good shape.
Right.
It's just the north we gotta figure out, and if they want our help, then we need to start bringing that board in and need to have some serious conversations
Right.
about
Absolutely.
what needs to happen, but we can't do that until we have the
We need to
lawyers.
know what we need to
What we
do.
Right.
And it was just pointed out that if we run into an issue, we could always extend a contract or bid it for 1 year or whatever till we got everybody,
I'm with you.
okay?
Sure.
So it's an option. I'm not saying that's an ideal option, but it is an
I'll be
option.
careful about that.
Because it may take
I
some
mean, if
people
I
on
was,
the
if I was
table
gonna
to-
buy
Right.
some equipment, I'm not gonna do it for 1 year.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
Well,
hard.
we don't wanna do, first of all, our main goal is to make sure that they have the best possible service
Right.
in the area that we're trying to help. Number 2, I'm
So
sorry.
I just wanna say, and make it clear to the people up there what that means,
They gotta
right?
ask us.
So if you wanna go back to having a hearse pick you up when the undertaker's free to take you to the hospital, then that's one cost level. And if you want paramedic ambulance service in the north in a reasonable time
Period
frame,
of time. where-
that's a different thing.
Right.
So that may come back to the education piece. Now, it's probably not gonna be a vote, but the people in Northern Edgar County need to know what these details are. 'Cause they're gonna pay for it one way or the other.
Right.
Because there's ways that an ambulance service could say, hey, we ran north of Horace Brocken to pick you up, your bill is X, whereas if it's south of Horace Brocken, your bill is Y. and that's based on taxing district. So all these things are on the table, and that's why I'm getting a little sweaty thinking about. all the things
Absolutely,
that-
we're talking about May here, bud.
It's gonna be a mess.
We were, Augie and I talked about it in, what, January or February, putting it on the agenda to get the board's official intention to rebid this thing and to follow the contract and give the official 30 days notice.
The more,
And not wait till the last minute.
right, the more time you give them, the more availability you're gonna have on bidders.
It's gonna get down and dirty. That's the problem.
I just don't wanna get, and I'm sure none of you wanna get down the road in a year and a half, and Northern Edgar goes, why didn't you give us an opportunity, why didn't you, we need to be in a position to make sure that we've helped us
At least offer,
inform, offer, whatever.
Lead the horse water and then hold its head underwater.
Right. And I mean, it's important.
you're up there, what do you want?
Well, I just as soon having a long-term, dependable, up-to-date technology-wise ambulance service.
Derek probably doesn't worry as much about the ambulance services.
I just limp to the, 500 yards north, and I can
He's got
get to
young-
1 million counties.
He's got young kids.
Well, he does.
And I mean, things happen. I mean, there's
Do
accidents.
they fall off the four-wheelers?
Yeah.
And then you've got Embarrassed Township.
Right, and we have to ask them, and we have to ask Kansas also.
Right,
We need to invite them all in.
right,
And all of the townships that aren't currently part of the district
right.
need to be included in
Well, I don't
those
even-
discussions.
I don't even know what is the status of those two. Are they in the same kind of straits that Chrisman or?
Embarrassed,
Prairie.
they have a agreement or contract with the Paris or Eric's ambulance to provide their ambulance services, and then Kansas, through the fire district,
Right.
has, runs their own ambulance service.
No, we need to include any township
Absolutely.
that's not.
I think we ought to
See what the options are and
have a,
they can
Yeah,
decide
well,
what
I
to
mean,
do.
yeah, absolutely.
I think we need to.
And then we have the
So-
attorneys there,
And
and
say, hey,
How are we gonna push this forward? Can we have, if we invite them to our next study session, can the lawyers be ready in time, do you think?
I can't guarantee that.
I just feel like if we're
You know
driving the
what?
bus,
first thing is I find out the lawyers will be there.
That's
Second
what
thing,
was on my
we'll
list
kind of-
this
we'll
week.
just-
and put a burr in their bonnet too, just to get something done, because
So we'll get this-
we need this figured out
Yeah,
quick.
we do.
No, you're not panicking. This is, I mean, you're panicking, but I mean, it's well intentioned and you're correct.
So we gotta drive the bus.
I've been working with the attorneys now for what, 2.5 months? And I can't get,
There's a reason for that, yes, there is.
well,
Yeah, Dick James is.
well, the state's attorney has had an inordinate workload and has been gone, has been doing continuing education.
Was he- I haven't seen him, I promise.
He wasn't down there and asked him.
I never saw him.
All right, what else do you have, sir?
That's it. Have you seen any paperwork from Barry's crew? Actual physical documents that need signing by important people?
Not me.
Yes, I sent those to you, didn't I?
He sent out electronically a whole boatload of stuff. I thought I read
Oh,
in
but
that
there's paper
email
copies
that there was
coming.
actual physical papers en route. So maybe I need to.
No, they're not here yet. I talked to Barry last week.
More recent.
The week I was gone.
Okay,
Which one?
everything is, all of the approvals are done. I was gonna go into this if you didn't. All of the sign-offs have been done by all the feds and state agencies. The bid packet is gonna be available online later on this week or the first next. This is for the farm and the expansion, the concrete project. He will be getting us what we need to sign or not sign at the appropriate times. There is gonna be an advertisement in the paper since the Environmental Protection Agency cleared the project. They have a requirement by law that has to be advertised that they have cleared the project and it's approved. And so that'll be in the paper for 30 days or 4 weeks. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. So that's what I know. And they're looking at the, November 9th at 10 o'clock is when the bids are all due, and we'll know, and we'll be able to go online and see what the bids are. Okay, November 9th at 10 a.m.,
Good, okay.
all right?
We owe signed documents to him prior to that.
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe so. But I'm sure you will be talking to him, and if I'm in error, we'll get squared away.
I just thought of something else. Tom contacted me via email, wanted to know if we wanted to sell our old beacon light,
Right.
what
I told him to
owe.
call Jeff.
Oh.
Just to make sure.
Our county auctioneer.
I
auction
told,
officer.
Tom wants to sell our old beacon, and I told him, I guess last Thursday or Friday, that he needed to get a hold of you to make sure he was doing it correctly, or whether you needed to do it.
Okay.
He has somebody that wants to bid on it and buy it. I told him he couldn't just sell it outright, that he needed to talk to you first. Okay? Will you help Tom to make sure he's clear on that? Thank you.
Can you mount it on a squad
I
car?
was gonna say that would be a sweet light on top of the car, man.
Boy, you could really shine some
They know
gear
you're
with that
coming.
thing.
There we go.
I think it was Dodgers.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you, but
I swear, that's it.
Tom and I did talk to
TIPS
him.
meeting, is that in October?
What's that?
A TIPS meeting over
Yes,
in
I
October?
feel like it was just in Springfield.
yeah, it is
And
16th. I don't think they've set it up for sure.
haven't seen
but
it.
normally it's in October.
Yes.
And that's talk about what's going on for the future projects and.
Do you wanna get plugged into that?
and,
Well, no, I just was
Feel
asking.
free. It's a good time.
Yeah, good time. Where do we have that hamburger?
Freddy's, man.
Freddy's, yeah.
Freddy's. It's worth it. Makes it all worthwhile.
It's just a hamburger.
No, it's a tasty one though.
And the fried dip.
Hamburger, the hamburger.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's all.
Not
I
sure, Matt.
Okay, agenda wise. Let's see here. Select, number 8 will be tabled unless Andy's able to really come up with something in 48 hours.
Speed reading.
We're gonna take one.
Resolution on increase, on assessing fees. Think everybody, maybe not Carl,
Carl
but
didn't want to return my calls, so.
the
I was like a needy girlfriend, Carl. I called you like 3 times. Nothing.
$7.
And currently, what is it?
19
$1.90.
cents. Nothing, yeah.
Yeah, I read through all that information.
That's why you couldn't pick up the phone.
She was tired, weren't you?
He was sending it
Tired reading.
to clairvoyantly. or
I'll check my email. I may got an email.
Again, Joseph Meyer, that's executing the deeds of conveyance on that Douglas property. So it goes back on the tax rolls. We've got reappointing Joe Good as jury commissioner. Jeff has been, and you folks need to give permission for the honeybee to use the courthouse lawn. My understanding is, Jeff, you've been consulted about that?
I haven't heard a thing about it this year.
Okay.
Well, I just got the letter.
Okay.
Okay.
Can they
I'll
use the
give you a
courthouse lawn?
All right.
Can they use the courthouse lawn for honeybee?
I think you.
Tell them if they mow it.
Already went there.
Yeah, they want to mow it.
All right, then we're gonna reappoint, David Wright and Betty to the Edgar County Housing Authority. Any questions or issues on anything that's before us on that agenda?
It's the next county board meeting where we vote on insurance. Is that right? Am I?
That would be
We just did it in October.
It goes
The
in
Well,
effect.
insurance we're talking
I think
about.
you approved it, subject to the insurance committee's review.
Oh, that insurance, yeah. it's
Is that what
done.
you're referring to?
Yeah, I just want to
Derek?
make sure. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
We're good to go.
No,
Sorry.
so I envision that at the board meeting, the insurance committee is gonna say thumbs up,
Yeah,
or whatever you recommend.
yes. Yeah, we're good there. I just wanted to make sure.
By the way, the final count is PPO 3, HSA 1, which is the most popular one. Carl, did you make the decision on yours yet?
Mhm.
Okay. I think it's 42 then. And then HSA 2 is 2,
Which is the cheapest.
which is the cheaper one.
Give those again.
3 for the PPO, 42 for HSA,
Which was previously 38 people.
Right.
on that plan.
and then HSA 2 is 2. Okay? So,
Which I thought was surprising.
Yeah, that one surprised me.
Fewer people took the cheap one.
well, and you gotta look at inside of it, less things, some good things happen to us for a change as opposed to what normally happens, so things did get better, and we stepped up to the plate a little bit more with our employees, so it made maybe it easier for them to take the bigger plan, or better plan. I'm not sure it's better. It anyway felt that that was what they needed to do. Budget-wise, we're early in the month, so Don didn't have everything plugged in. I'll have a copy of the budget to you and show you where we are at Wednesday morning. The actual budget for FY19 should be in your hands sometime by midweek next week. So we'll have that. I'll try to get the levy cranked out. All of this is, none of it's in stone. All of it's, we can discuss at these study sessions. We've got 3 study sessions. Well, and if we need more, we can do a special meeting of the committee of the whole to talk about the budget. Okay? I've only got a couple of departments that have not gotten theirs in yet. I need them by Wednesday. I think I've gotten a hold of finally the 3 people, or 3 elected officials that haven't turned theirs in, but there's extenuating circumstances for all 3 of them, and so we're moving forward on that. That's all I think I've got at this point.
Union guy, have you heard anything on
I
that?
talked to him, thank you. In regards to Jeff, he has heard nothing. He's in the process of doing his thing. We asked him a question on, as it relates to the current contract, and we don't want to do anything to upset the apple cart, but on this deal with Shiloh, we want to know whether a special assignment can be made, whether it's union, whether it's non-union. He was gonna do all of that and give me a call this afternoon, and I'm speaking as much to Jeff as anybody. We are moving forward slowly with Shiloh, is that a good way to put it? We think it's doable, but there's some questions that we need to move past. The superintendent up there, Alan, has been very gracious. They understand that they came to us very late. You know, they realize that it may take a couple of months to get this squared away, but we're moving forward. Is that correct? Am I mischaracterizing that at all, Jeff?
You're right on.
Okay, so we've met with them twice, and here we're looking to meet with them in another couple of weeks once we get a couple of questions answered. And we're talking about a resource officer for the school district, okay? And and they even said that if they had to step up and do some more to make it doable, he couldn't speak for the whole board, but he thought that was doable, okay? So that's, and we're considering it a pilot so that we don't get dumped on. I mean, we need to figure out, even if we get everything worked out, and Jeff and Alan do, I mean, we need some time to make sure it can work.
We'll have to make adjustments
Right,
all along, and
right. But we do have some other places that are currently doing this, and they've got some of that information. I think Jeff was gonna go visit one of the schools, and so we're moving along on it, okay? Jeff, did you have anything else that you need to talk to the board
pretty
about?
much cover everything I had.
Augie?
I'm good, thank you.
is there anything else to come before the meeting?
The only thing I would have we'll call it Dina's resolution for $7 per parcel.
Right.
I've talked to Derek about it. I assume everybody's
Right.
been in the loop and good. I'm missing something.
We talked about it already. You fell asleep with Dan?
Yes, I did.
That's okay.
Carl didn't answer the phone, did you hear that?
I
Twice.
texted him.
Twice.
Left messages.
Well, no, you just
That's
told
Tearful messages.
Why would you
you,
text
you,
it?
you
Doesn't
just
hurt.
told me that you were being a teenage
Boys.
needy girl with Carl, and I just kind of blanked out the rest of the conversation.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Eric moves, Dan seconds, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen, very
We
much.
don't know where.
I've checked all my voicemails and there was no